Have you ever been going about your day and your mind gets filled with so many ideas and thoughts about your book? You gain excitement. You think, ooh, I can't wait to get back to my computer so I can start writing. You're mentally flowing, ideas are coming. You're thinking about scenes, chapters, points, stories, topics. But then you sit down, open your computer, open your manuscript document, and nothing comes to mind. You draw a blank. Now you're staring at the screen confused because just a few hours ago your thoughts were flowing naturally. So, what happened? In today's episode, I want to help you understand why this happens and what you can do when you sit down to write and your thoughts suddenly disappear. Because it does not mean you're not a writer, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have writer's block either. Ready to write your first book and make an impact? Do you wish you could organize your book ideas without feeling overwhelmed and actually find the time to write and finish your book? Hey, I'm Donna Cherie, a book writing coach and author. Welcome to Book Writing Made Simple. Inside this podcast, I'll teach you how to get a clear vision for your book idea, get organized, keep it simple, and develop a writing plan so you can finally get your book out into the world. Grab a notebook and pen with your favorite cup of tea. Welcome back to Book Writing Made Simple. I'm your host, Donna Cherie, a book writing coach and author. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been listening for a while, welcome back, sis. Thanks for pressing play. Before we jump into today's episode, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, follow the show so you never miss an episode. If this podcast has been helping you gain clarity, stay encouraged, and move forward on your book writing journey, share it with another aspiring author who needs this encouragement and these tools and tips as well. All right, let's talk about this because I know somebody listening has experienced this exact thing recently. I think a lot of aspiring authors panic in these moments. The second your mind draws a blank, you immediately start thinking, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I'm not a good writer. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. But honestly, sometimes your thoughts disappear because pressure entered the room. You went from naturally thinking about your book throughout the entire day to suddenly sitting down expecting yourself to write something deep, organized, powerful, and polished all at once. And that pressure can interrupt your writing flow. The blank moment that you experience is not proof that you have nothing to say. Sometimes you simply need a way to reconnect with your thoughts. Today, I want to help you do exactly that. So when you sit down to write, you know what to be focused on and you know how to regroup to get going in your writing flow. I've experienced this myself before, and this is why I can really talk about this. There were moments where ideas were flowing naturally while I was going about my day, doing everyday things and life activities. I'd think about a chapter while I was driving, a sentence would come to mind while cleaning, or I'd randomly think about something important that I wanted to include in my book by just sitting down watching TV. But by the time I actually sat down at my computer to write, these thoughts didn't feel as clear anymore. And one thing I realized was this: I was relying too much on memory instead of capturing the thought when it came to me. I also realized that sometimes I was placing unnecessary pressure on myself during the writing session. Like everything I wrote had to sound amazing immediately. I wanted to sound like Maya Angelou, sound like some of the greats that I've read growing up. And that pressure can make writing feel mentally exhausting, even before you actually write, even before you type a sentence. So if this has been happening to you, I want you to know something. Those thoughts that you were thinking about earlier throughout your day are still there. You just need help pulling them back to the surface, recalling them to your mind. Here are three things you should do when you sit down to write and nothing comes to mind. And make sure that you really take notes today so that as you're on your book writing journey, you can come back to this when this happens to you because it will happen at some point during your writing session. And I want you to be well prepared. So, the first thing that you should do is capture the thought before the writing session. This is a big one. Stop trusting yourself to remember every idea later from memory, like I was doing. I thought I could just hold all of that stuff in and then remember when I sat down to write, but it certainly was not the case because inspiration can come at random times. It can come while you're driving, while you're at work, while you're cooking, while you're resting. It can come in the middle of the night in a dream. And when those thoughts come, capture them. You got to make sure that you capture them. And the important piece, too, of when you capture your thoughts before your writing session is to make sure that you choose one specific place to capture your thoughts. This is a game changer. This will definitely help you and move you forward on your book writing journey. And so you're not scrambling all over the place. Don't put your book ideas in your notes app or a notebook or on a napkin in 500 different places. You need to identify one place, use that one place, and stick to it. So if you start with voice notes, stay with the voice notes. Or you can transfer your voice notes into to make it a document, like if you're using Google Docs or something like that and your voice recording, it will transcribe for you. Use that. But wherever you start, stay there. And this is what we call in the book writing world a tandem document, a document to capture all your thoughts, all your ideas, things that come to your mind, so that when it's time to sit down and write, you can review your tandem document and move from that place. If if you like. Your inspiration needs a place to land. So keep it in one place because when you sit down later, those little notes, or as I mentioned, your tandem document will help reconnect you to the flow of the ideas that you had earlier. You can't keep everything in your brain or expect to recall from memory all these wonderful ideas that you had pertaining to your book project. Number 2 is to reconnect with your outline before you start writing. Don't just open your manuscript code and expect your brain to instantly flow. If that happens, great, but it may not happen all the time. And as I always say, your outline is your bullseye. This is what's going to keep you on track. This is what is going to sustain you throughout the book writing process. Before you start writing, you can review your outline, which I highly, highly recommend. You can also reread the previous paragraph, the previous chapter, or the chapter that you're currently working on, or the last sentence you wrote. Reread it and see what comes to your mind from there. You can review your tandem document so that ideas begin to resurface and things come up for you. You can also revisit the main purpose of your book. What is the intention for writing this book in the first place, which can be found in your book vision plan. And if you worked with me, you have a book vision plan. So be sure to review your book vision plan to revisit the main purpose of your book so that you can continue to write. This helps your mind reconnect with where you left off. You have to remind your brain. As smart and powerful as it still needs reminders. So these are ways that you can reconnect where you left off and get writing and get into that writing flow. You can honestly do this whenever you feel like you have nothing to write. Whenever you sit down, you feel like you have nothing to write. Do these steps that I've just mentioned. A trick that I'll also share with you and something that I've utilized myself, and this is a trick also for people who may have writer's block. And this is not like, the end all be all tip of someone who has writer's block, but it is helpful and I've done it before. So you can rewrite the last sentence you wrote over and over again until something new comes to mind. This actually works. It may seem like a silly activity, but it really works. I've tried it on several occasions. So if you are a person, you sit down and like literally nothing's coming to mind, you've already done these suggestions that I just mentioned about reconnecting with your outline, revisiting a paragraph, or reviewing your tandem document. Try this activity and see. And I know it will work. It does work. Okay, the third tip you should do when you sit down to write and nothing comes to mind is to remove the pressure to write perfectly. This is where many aspiring authors get stuck. You have this expectation, and I'm not saying that it's a wrong expectation of you want to write well. You want to make sure that what you're writing makes sense. But oftentimes we can overanalyze when we have all of this pressure to write perfectly and then we don't move forward. We get stuck. So this could be you sit down already expecting to write, you know, writing to sound perfect, writing to sound powerful, to the chapter to flow perfectly, for every sentence to make sense immediately. And when that doesn't happen, your thoughts become crowded by pressure, by perfection, and overthinking, which leads to overwhelm. And then that overwhelm leads to no action, no movement. I want to remind you, sis, that this is a draft. This is a manuscript. So it is a work in progress. It does not need to be perfect right now. You can write messy if you need to. You can write incomplete thoughts if you need to. But just get it out, what you're saying. It doesn't have to be perfect. There are people who get paid to do these things for you, to edit your book, to help you make sure that it flows. There's coaches such as myself that can help you make sure that everything is organized, that it makes sense, that it flows from one chapter to the next or paragraph from paragraph. So that's not what you need to be focused on. So I want you to remove that pressure to write perfectly. I want you to stop putting so much pressure on yourself and relax. Take a deep breath, count to 10, and relax. Relax. Instead of trying to sound like a scholar or super polished or use all of these fancy words, focus on getting your thoughts out first. The reality is a blank page cannot be edited. Hear me, a blank page cannot be edited. So I encourage you today to just remove the pressure and stop putting so much weight on yourself, unnecessary weight of how to write in a specific way, in a specific fashion, and just get your thoughts on the page. So to recap the 3 tips that I've shared today, the next time that you sit down to write and nothing comes to mind, you can, number 1, capture the thought before the writing session. Number 2, reconnect with your outline before you start writing. And number 3, remove the pressure to write perfectly. The next time you sit down to write and your mind draws a blank, don't panic. Don't immediately assume you're not called to write and give up. Don't close your laptop. Don't allow self-doubt to convince you that suddenly you don't have anything to say. Your thoughts are still there. You are still called to write this book for the kingdom of God. You simply need a process that helps you reconnect with them. And I've given you some tips that you can do today to be able to reconnect with your thoughts so that when you sit down to write, you can give yourself grace. Again, relax and keep showing up. Don't neglect your writing sessions. If you've been struggling to organize your ideas, stay focused, or actually move forward with your manuscript, I'd love to help you. Inside of my Create a Solid Book Plan, I help aspiring authors simplify the writing process with Holy Spirit-led strategies to finally write and finish their first book to make a kingdom impact. So if you'd like to book a coaching session with me, you can go ahead to donnacherie.com/coaching. Again, that's donnacherie.com/coaching. Let's get your book out of your head and into your hands. Until next time, ciao. Thanks for tuning in. I hope today's episode inspired you to take that next step to write your book. Remember, small steps lead to big results. If this podcast has blessed you in some way, be sure to leave a written review on Apple Podcasts. Your support means the world to me, and it helps others to find the show. Also, be sure to pass on the inspiration by sharing this episode with a friend who could benefit from this message. God bless you, sis, and never, ever give up.